It's got a signature on the back. I'm like, how the hell did it get the signature?
I even put we got a little theme music going. You probably can't hear it. But we
No.
got a little theme music. All right, enough of that. All right, welcome. Playoff edition, NCAA tournament edition. Big week to talk about this week. NCAA brackets out. Smalley, a big trip down to the ACC representing.
With the
And
goat, my wife came.
and the goat was there. Cheryl, she made the trip. And then we got the big brackets. We got the big tournament coming up. Everybody's excited. We're going to go through it all. But let's start with the ACC tournament and Smalls' trip. You know, you made it down there for Friday's first round games, right? The semifinal.
Yeah, my wife came down. I was very fortunate to have her down. She's always a great organizer of this act, but yeah, we had a great time. We stayed at the Le Meridian, where most of the people were staying, the parents. They don't let the parents stay in the same hotel anymore as the kids. That's the new thing on the trip. So we met a lot of the parents, and it was just fantastic. The first game,
what was the first game? Your first game you had there was Notre Dame kind of handled Virginia there.
First game was Notre Dame, Virginia, and, I love Virginia. I love the players as well as you guys, but I have to say, this team reminds me of the UConn running basketball. They just are so unbeatable right now when you look at the matchups and the goalie. And to me, if I have to pick the decathlon championship, I'm not. What's the award? Tawaton? I have to say that goalie's going to be the best player in the world, and I got to throw in the two Irish kids. What's their names again? I forget.
Kavanaughs.
The Kavanaughs are unbelievable. So I do a duo this year. I give it to the Kavanaughs, and I give it to the goalie to split.
So he's giving it to three guys now. They're going to make it
the Kavanaugh brothers come on. Listen, it's Irish Day. Can you see this? This tie came from Corrigan 3 years ago, and I got it signed by him. See the tie? That's why I'm wearing the tie today. So it's not out to Kevin
Notre Dame bandwagon now, Vin.
It's not the bandwagon. I'm Irish. I got to go. Listen to me.
He's got himself covered with every team in the NCAA.
Hey, listen.
He's better than Don King.
I grew up eating leprechaun sauce, bro. I love these kids, man. Unbelievable.
So then I know you were geared up all week. You had been talking about this Syracuse Duke game. You were very excited for it. Turned out to not be as much of a game. Duke, again, came out.
Oh, Duke came to play. They got a spanking. They got an old-fashioned ass whooping. And maybe sometimes that's good. You got a wake-up call before you slide into the game. No one's untouchable in the game. Like
Vin, let me ask you this, Vin. Do you think playing all of those home games and being in home comfort for all that length of time for Syracuse, now having to play some tough games away, travel, and that, you think that factors into any, situation of that Duke-Syracuse game?
I mean, it could. They play most of their games in the Dome this year. And, they get obviously the comfort level of playing at home at the Dome is definitely an advantage. They don't often lose in the Dome. But, you had the midseason game where they beat Duke up at the Dome. They held them to 4. They flipped the script on them and were able to pump in a bunch of goals on them this time. So they made their adjustments. Look, better to lose now than when the tournament starts. It didn't affect them all that much. They still got seeded. Syracuse, I think, 4th. They get a home game. They might have flipped the brackets a little bit. But as I said on our last podcast with Tim Goldstein, you can't be bracket watching and who you're playing. You just got to beat the team that's in front of you. And you got to have the mentality, that every play matters, every game matters. I got a kick out of, look, the ACC tournament, everybody expected, or I think most people expected, that there would be 1-goal games, and it turned out 3 games that weren't even close near the end. The result was made by halftime in those 3 games. But I got a kick out of Corrigan because I've said on our podcast that this team, the Kavanaughs, they bring that edge to the team and it carries through with everybody. But I think it really, maybe I underestimated Corrigan's feistiness because I got a kick out of them. They're winning, I think, by 10 at the end of the game in the final the other day. And there's like a minute left, and the ball goes out of bounds, and it could look like it could have been off of either guy, but they gave the ball to Duke. And as they come up the field with the ball, Duke, the ref comes by, and Corrigan's screaming at him as if it's a tie score. They're up 10 with a minute. What does it matter? But everything matters to them, and that's why they win. That's why they're going to be tough to beat in this tournament because they got a lot of depth, they got a lot of leadership, they got a lot of toughness. You heard the announcers throughout the game, when you called them 50-50 balls. When the ball's on the ground, you call it 50-50. One of the announcers said, I don't know when you're playing Notre Dame, you could call it 50-50 anymore. That ball's on the ground. They're getting it 70-30, 80-20. They come up with them unless it goes out of bounds,
I can't believe the amount of guys that come in, these new guys. You're seeing new numbers. You're seeing guys you never saw before. All of a sudden they're in the game and they're all producing. So they're very, very deep. They keep coming at waves of one guy better than the next and
Yeah.
all tough athletes, not giving an inch. And
That's a good point, Stephen. Let me jump in on one thing that you get back. Just very quickly, what I noticed, and Vinny can chime in also, is that I don't know how much this means, but like you guys always talk about clearing the ball. When I say clearing the ball, they're clearing the ball so easily, and very few times a defenseman is actually handling the ball, going over the line and throwing. It's always a midfielder. I don't know how much that means, but it looks like very easily they're doing things. Very easy. Does that make sense? Or?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, look, the clearing game, if you're having problems in the clearing game, usually it leads to easy goals for the other team the other way. If you're clearing at a high rate without turnovers, you limit the other team's ability to get breaks, and they're good at it.
That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing.
Say again?
That's exactly what they've been doing.
Yeah,
They're the most
it starts with a lot of the saves that Entenmann makes. He catches the ball. So when he's catching the ball and he throws an outlet, sometimes, it's the first pass out and they got it cleared. That helps a lot too. And they actually, turn it into instant offense. But, look, we're giving a lot of props to Notre Dame, how they've handled that tournament, how they handled the whole season, what they look like going into it. That being said, there's no guarantee they're going to run the table here.
Yeah, but Vinny, hold on. When Entenmann's playing, a lot of these guys are taking shots. With Entenmann, they're not percentage shots. When they're out and Entenmann can see the ball, Entenmann's saving that shot. You got to figure out a way. If you're going to win a national championship against Notre Dame right now, you got to figure out how to screen him multiple times, and that's going to be hard. Most of these teams don't have that ability, and I just can't see it. I see them being the elite of the elite right now going into it.
That's it. They're finished.
Kevin Corrigan just threw his coffee mug.
The mush just put his blessing on them. It's over.
Right.
Well, what do you mean? What do you think?
As soon as you're picking them, they're going in
I'm
jeopardy.
not picking them. I'm just saying right now they're playing the best ball going into the tournament like UConn did in basketball. That's all I'm saying. Well, anybody can be beat.
Yeah. I'll say this. I think teams like Duke, Syracuse, Virginia, and maybe even some others, I don't think they should be completely discouraged. Like, for example, Duke can turn it on. They didn't have the face-off guy. I think the face-off guy, you give him a couple weeks. By the time they get deep into the tournament, he should be available if they're at that game, if they're at that quarterfinal game at Hofstra, or if they're at the Final Four, they can turn it on. They have the weapons. They have the weapons in a one-game scenario to do it. They just have to come up with a little bit of better game plan. You're right. You can't take these one-on-one shots where Enterman just zones in on it, because he does catch them and he doesn't give up rebounds and he creates offense going the other way. You have to get the ball moving. They have to get better ball movement with faster passes and catch him off guard with quick shots where he's moving. He's moving from one side of the field to the other to try to then make the save. That's I think the better way to beat a guy like Enterman and the Notre Dame defense. But
right now,
that's
he's the
easier
best player
said
in the
than done.
game. Right now, he's the best player in the game. There ain't no doubt about it. And that includes offensive players and defense. He's playing at a rate few goalies has ever played. Let's see how he does going in. But Vinny can respond to that. He played the olden days. He can say who was good. But I don't see anybody better than this kid since I've been watching. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
He's playing at a high level. He's playing with a great great goalies tend to have great defenses in front of them too. Like Steven said, if you're forcing them to bad angles defensively, it helps the goalie too. If you're able to push guys away from the crease, or teams are not if they're not screening him, which was a good point by you, Smalls. Screening is important. You may need, if you're going to be taking outside shots, you may need a guy in that crease area just standing there blocking his vision as best you can. Those are it has to be considered, because you may play a great game and still lose because this guy comes up with a bunch of saves. So, listen, the playoffs are going to be interesting. They clearly have set themselves apart from the other teams right now. But again, it's sports. Anything can happen. Their face-off guys seem to get healthy. Lynch, he looked good the other day. And like I said, they put a lot of depth on display in that game the other day. So,
well, let's move.
They're the number one seed for a reason.
Before we move to another conference, I want to show with Smalls being down in Charlotte, he had a great video here. I want to show this if I can, if there's a way to do it.
Oh, that's the view from his room.
Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome to the ACC tournament here in Charlotte, New York.
Charlotte, New York. Oh, God.
What's going on, guys? Yes. Right,
Smalls, I knew you were in a state of confusion, but you don't even know what state you're in.
It's amazing. Look at the city. I'll go slow. Unbelievable.
Is that Grand Central Station?
Beautiful, beautiful city. No drama. No drama.
Oh, no drama.
Drama.
Awesome.
No drama. It's 6 o'clock in the morning at Charlotte.
Right.
He's
He
looking for
expects drama. Amazing.
Hey, Vinny, let me just, hey, Steven, let me get a word here. I just want to tell you, it's really, when I mean no drama, there's not a lot of cars. They built the city up in the last 10 years, built it completely. It was a crazy city. It really is nice, I have to say. It was it's the home of NASCAR. We went to the NASCAR museum. My wife and I, we had so many things to do. Each night we went out in town. I had an amazing time.
Word is Vinny got you in a nice restaurant while you were down there.
Well, actually, I didn't get a chance to thank him. Thank you, Mr. Goat, because you got me in. I said, Vinny, you know anybody in the state of Charlotte? He goes, let me get in my Rolodex. He goes, I know a guy that owns like 30 restaurants over there. What? He sent me to a restaurant, a sushi restaurant. You couldn't get in; it was packed. When I called up, so Vinny said, "Just go there," and I went there. My name was on the list. They sat us in a beautiful seat. They gave us 7 appetizers. That was very nice. That was very, very cool.
Well, I give a shout out to Andy O'Keefe, a 50-year friend, and he's just a phenomenal guy. Very generous guy. Always been great to everybody in the lacrosse community.
How many restaurants does he own, Vin?
I don't know, a lot, but he owns a whole partner in a whole hospitality group, I guess.
You hadn't talked to him in like 10 years.
Andy has been very good to all his friends over the years, and he's just a very generous guy with a big heart. And by the way, he was also a great lacrosse player. a first-team All-American at Roanoke, played on the national championship team. So he was a pretty damn good athlete also.
Yeah, I want to thank you. That was fantastic. My wife and I enjoyed that. The trip. Listen, the whole trip and all the teams and the parents. Give a shout out to the Balsamos, Charles. I love seeing them. Fish, aka, he was great. Seeing a lot of different parents, meeting a new guy. Vinny, who's the new people I met? I forgot. I told you the name. The new
Well,
guy I
you
met.
met one of the players' fathers from Duke,
Connor
Drake, Sean Drake.
Sean Drake, he went to Army, and now his son is a fifth-year player. He was a transfer student, I forget from where, and now he's playing with Duke. And little did we know, Vinny had talked to Charles. Connor Drake and Balsamo are workout partners.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to them and the family, and also Charles. Never misses a game. He's an unbelievable father. And the family and his wife, and a shout out to the Balsamos. Just a great trip. Thanks to Vinny. Thanks to you guys.
And the wrap up of the trip is all four teams made it. We'll talk about the bracket a little bit later, but all four teams are in. They all have their chance, looking strong, obviously, and the on top. But most of the other teams, there are teams fighting to try to get in. So we'll move on when we talk about the Big Ten tournament and some real swings there. And Michigan, again, like last year, with their backs against the wall, comes up big with 2 wins, beating Hopkins and then beating Penn State, and gets that automatic qualifier and puts themselves right in the mix. What do you think about that, Vin?
Well, I think what a job the coaching staff from Michigan, and I would say if they could bottle up what they put on the field against Penn State the other night, they're going to be tough to beat because they were on fire. To beat a Penn State team the way they did, 16-4. I mean, that I would have never imagined them winning that lopsided type of score. But listen, I think that last year they surprised people. They caught fire at the end and they won the Big Ten, and then they lost in the playoffs relatively quick. I think they probably learned from that, and they made the same. They made the same move this year. They had to win 3 games, and they did. They were able to beat 3 good teams. They got a seed. They didn't get a top 8 seed, and they face a tough first game out in Denver, I think, right? I think they got Denver.
Out in Denver.
Yeah, it's a good point, man. Let's give a shout out to the Mulhollands. Josh Mulholland and Aiden Mulholland.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Aiden had a couple of goals in the game. I don't
he had
know if
3
he's
goals.
I think Aiden's a good
Even back to back. Big Ten, back to back.
Since Aiden's in that school, they got back-to-back Big Ten championships. They got national championships in football. I think they beat Ohio State 3 years in a row or something in football. He's a good luck charm, that kid.
They said you're right. They said Josh was in a hot tub for like 9 hours, drinking champagne with the wife, praying to God. I'll tell you, the guy's the best. That guy has so much heart, and I'm going to tell you why. All these parents that go to these games and support the kids are amazing, but I have to give so much credit to Josh. He drives everywhere. He told me 10-hour drives, 11-hour drives. The guy does it by himself with music. A shout out to you, Josh. You're the ultimate leprechaun. I love you, man. Your family, your wife, your sons. Oh, man, you guys are amazing.
Vin, you think now we're at tournament time, but thinking about Michigan's run there with the 3 very strong wins, in a tournament. Well, that's basically what you're looking at. That's why any of these teams could do it. If you can turn it on, the finish line is in sight. The finish line for these teams is 3 or 4 games, basically. It's there. You got to win 4 games. Some teams have tougher opponents, but certainly when you get down to the quarterfinals, you got 3 games to win the national championship. Those are 3 hard games, but they can be, if you get hot at the right time, there's a lot of teams that can do it.
Yeah. Listen, the parity in Division I lacrosse this year, and a lot of people were saying 1 through 10, there are 10 teams that could win it. but the cream is rising to the top. And like I said, as defending champs and the display they put on this weekend, clearly Notre Dame is the team to beat. I think everybody would agree to that. But everybody just forget looking at Notre Dame, and if they're down the road for a lot of these teams, but they just got to take one game at a time.
Well, let me ask you this about we're in the Big Ten. Is Hopkins losing kind of in Smalley's mentality, what he was saying in the ACC? Hopkins losing. Can they look at this like a benefit? One, as a wake up call, you took a loss. You didn't carry the championship banner, but you still got this. You still got seeded. You still got a home game, and
That's
you got
true,
your guys
Stephen, but it was a
rested,
bloodbath.
and
It
your
was a
guys are rested.
bloodbath.
So is this maybe potentially a good thing for like a Hopkins?
No.
I don't ever look at losing as a good thing and wake up calls. I personally don't believe in that kind of stuff. I think that I think they should feel happy that that wasn't the end of the road for them, and that they get to play again, and they try to fix what what was broken in the last game. But to say it's good, I
Well, I
wouldn't say
wouldn't say
good.
good. I just mean as a silver lining.
No, I mean
Could
I
have
know I
worked
know
out
what you're
better for
saying.
them.
You get to play again. You get in a different opponent. You may see the same opponent down the road. Who knows? But all these teams are going to gear up for whatever's in front of them. And like I said, the depth of talent on a lot of these teams has been at its highest all time. So yeah, anything can happen. It's sports. You get an injury to a key guy. Guy twists his ankle in the first quarter of a game. That's a key guy, and all these things. It's got to fall in line for you. You make your own luck a lot of times, but it does take some luck. The ball bounces the wrong way. It's a game of inches. How many one-goal games did we see this year, where guys, fell in the crease, and when Mikey Leo scored that goal against Maryland, and you're talking about inches that he touches the circle, and they call it no goal. That could have been another win, but there's been 7, 8, 9, 10 games like that. So
What about some great matchups? That game coming up that Maryland's got to play.
Let's keep. We finished the Big Ten. You guys Smalley likes to bounce around. Not people. You have to have a little order.
Excuse me, I haven't eaten yet. I'm going for a steak at Peter
all over the
Luger's
place.
at fucking 1:00.
Right. Okay. So just as some teams, like Michigan, worked their way in and got that automatic qualifier, there was some heartbreak. So when you look at the Big East situation, Villanova had a great upset of Denver, and then took the home game into the championship game, and came from way behind to take a lead, and looked like they could pull off the upset, and then Georgetown took them to overtime and got the game winner. And then obviously there was a little bit of controversy with the officiating in that last play, where Georgetown takes a shot in overtime. There's 19 seconds to go on the shot clock. They gave them a reset. It was a tricky play. You could hardly see it. The goalie looked like he was reaching for it. It actually hit off a defenseman. They gave them the reset. This came off of a timeout. Georgetown came out of the timeout and scored quickly, as there was still all of the kind of arguing and that. And that's a tough break for Nova. They had their chances. My only thing with that is I really didn't understand why that wasn't something that could be reviewed, and you see it all year. They're reviewing crease calls. They're reviewing even shot clock things, but yet that wasn't reviewed. Whether they have the capabilities to do it, I don't know how it works. Are you mandatory to have certain equipment?
Maybe a time frame, maybe the last 2 minutes of the game, or last 2 minutes of each quarter, you can do it. There is the rule book. I'm still waiting for my dear friend.
no,
Give me the rule book.
It was actually overtime, but I think, Steven, there was less time than that. I think when the shot that hit the defenseman's stick and went out of bounds, by the time that ball got out of bounds, had they not reset it, there probably would have been about 9 or 10 seconds on the
No,
shot.
no, no. It was more. I
Yeah,
looked at it. It was more. It was 19. Because
19.
people were arguing. They said, well, the guy scored, he scored in 14 seconds, so it wouldn't have mattered. But that's hard to say. I mean, defensively, you're coming out of that timeout defensively. You're coming out with a different philosophy if there's 19 on the clock compared to if there's 60. I
Well,
think.
yeah, but they didn't get the stop. But again, game of inches. I watched that game, and when they came back and they took a 2-goal lead and they were up 10-8, and a kid took a behind the back shot on Nova that rang off the pipe, not the crossbar. It went off. The goalie had no chance of stopping it, and it went off the pipe. And my opinion, they would have scored that goal and went up 3. They probably win that game. Georgetown was had been stymied offensively in the whole second half. To make up 3 goals, they made up 2 and they got it to overtime. But I think if Nova would have got to 3 with a face-off, which they started to win a few face-offs towards the end of the game, I think it would have been their game. They put up a great effort. They were at home. They beat a tough Denver team. To beat Denver and Georgetown back to back like that would have been a great accomplishment. It would have been great for them to get to the tournament. But they fell a little bit short. That's how it goes. That's why it's a game of inches.
And that would have jumbled things up certainly.
Oh,
With the
forget
committee,
it.
that would have caused chaos.
It would have thrown a lot of craziness into the selections.
Hey, guys, hold on a second. Hey, you there?
We're listening.
Oh, I got Brett Brown on the line. We're on the podcast. Brett, say hello to the two guys in crime.
This guy's got guys calling in.
We're gonna work out the call feature where they could actually.
All right, I'm gonna have to jump off. Hey, Brett, one quick thing. Who's gonna win? Yeah, you got to do it quick. 6 seconds. I got 5, 4. Who's gonna win it all in lacrosse this year?
Notre Dame.
All right, I'll see you later. Sorry, guys, I had to pick up. That's Brett Brown. He's part of our posse. But go ahead.
He is our posse.
Brett Brown picks Notre Dame.
And he picks Notre Dame. Notre Dame. So Denver ends up, even though they end up rested. They're another team looking for that silver lining. They ended up with a high seed. So none of the teams that really lost, it really hurt them that bad. We're going to talk about the bracket in a minute, but the last tournament, the Ivy League tournament, held by Cornell. We talked about it. I really thought Cornell would get that thing done up there at home. It didn't work out for them against Penn. And
they got robbed. Cornell got robbed.
Costly. It was very costly, obviously. They lose to Penn. Princeton puts up an outstanding effort, taking out Yale, and then Penn actually looked like a different team from Cornell to Princeton. Princeton just looked really strong. They sort of manhandled them all over the field, I think.
Who they play, Maryland?
Princeton got hot at the right time. They really played 2 very good games, maybe 2 of their best games of the year. They're going to be a tough, that Maryland-Princeton game is going to be a tough game.
Who would you pick in that game, Vinny?
What's
Princeton
that?
or Maryland?
Well, we'll get to the picks. We're going to get our picks. We're going to get our brackets. He's always ahead of the game. Why don't you're going to draw up an agenda, Smalls?
All right, keep it going, guys. I got game, brother. Let's go. Keep it moving here. Keep it moving.
Go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's talk about some of the teams we haven't spoke about that are down a little bit. Georgetown, sneaking in there, getting in there. Could they get a little twinkle, win another game, and get to the quarters?
Well, look.
Georgetown gets to the quarters.
Although it was early, Georgetown's the only team to beat Notre Dame.
That's what I'm saying.
That tells you something about their team. They're a tough defensive team. They're going to be tough. What I find in watching these games, as they were fighting to win their own tournaments and get seeded and, to win a playoff spot, these portal guys, these transfer guys really have big impact in these games. They really do. These 5-year guys are having big effects in these games. So, that's something to look for. I thought that that when you look at it, I mean, even that Georgetown game, the kid from Princeton, Vidaro, they were right about that. I mean, Princeton last year had a strong team. Those Princeton transfers that went out into the world to other teams, they've all, for the most part, almost every one of them has been very impactful. But it's not only them; it's these other 5-year guys that are going on. Zawada at Duke, and different guys. So we may not ever see it as strong as it is right now because those COVID year guys and all of that. That's why you got to hand it to the Ivy League. They don't have these 5-year transfer in portal guys. They're doing it with what they have, who got into the school, and they're basically doing it with 4-year players. You might say that as Ivy League schools, you might say as Ivy League schools. Go ahead, Smalls. You go.
No, I'm sorry. I just was cheering. I said the bracket went up. That's all. Go ahead. You can finish. Go ahead. You got the bracket up here.
The Ivy League guys, maybe in the Ivy Leagues, you do have maybe more kids that go to prep school before they go to college too. So they might say, they don't have the portal guys, but they do maybe have some guys that are a little older age-wise too, because of prep school kids. So who knows? Who knows? I mean, unless you're going to look at every roster and look at kids' ages and their path to where they are right now, you don't know. But all I can tell you is if you get a guy that comes from another school and he's 24, 25 years old, even some guys are as old as 25, that, you definitely get an advantage.
When you look at the bracket, it's pretty clear they went by pretty much the RPI, like Goldstein had said, for the most part. That's what it looks like. I mean, after this bracket, Penn and Cornell are the first teams out, pretty much.
Penn and Cornell.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I don't know. I know Smalley's he's not big on the PSI or the RPI or whatever he calls it.
PSI.
I want, look, it's a system, right? But I think about it this way, Smalls. We went to the U.S. Open, didn't we? Guys are hitting 140 mile an hour rocket serves that are clipping a line or missing a line by what they're saying, an eighth of a millimeter, and they came up with the cameras and the shot spot. Somebody said, okay, the cameras, there's the ball going like a rocket. And they said, oh, was it in or out? They put it on the screen, a little animation. The ball goes, eighth of a millimeter. And everybody sits there like Sebastian, Maniscalco. Okay, all right, it looks good. Like, I look at the RPI as the same thing. Like, who says, what is this formula? What math geek made this formula that we're all just buying into? Like, that's the way it's got to be. Like, how do we know the points that they're on this RPI?
That's why you got to have a couple teams as subjective, where people think 2 or 3 teams or whatever that they decide that we're right there and as good as you got to have something like that.
I'm saying but they've clearly brought in where they're looking at these computer numbers and they're just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, boom, and that's it.
Yeah.
How do we know?
But Stephen, it's a mathematical formula. If the mathematical formula is applied across even the way it's supposed to be, it's a starting point for how they do this. I mean, it's the starting end. That's not the issue is not so much how they pick the teams based on RPI. The issue is more whether or not they should have more teams in the tournament because it's the automatic qualifier. You're fighting over whether Cornell could be in. Cornell can beat probably 6 of those automatic qualifiers on any day.
But that's a different argument.
I understand it's a different argument. But there's no argument to be made if there's a mathematical formula. Wins over top 5 teams, wins over 6 to 10, top 20 wins. They're applying that to every team evenly. So the RPI, I mean, if that's the formula, you could say you don't like it and you want to do more of an eye test or you want to go. They do head to head. You know,
Well,
there's
I'm
some
going to give
things
you
that
another.
go
I'm going to
into
give
it.
you another argument. You sit there and they say, "Oh, we got to grow the game," and that's the reason for the automatic qualifier is supposed to be to grow the game. Well, the RPI does the reverse, because if you think about the RPI, these teams, when Notre Dame is playing Duke and playing Virginia, those are just high point games. It doesn't hurt you. It only helps them. They stay at the top, and that's it. What incentive do they have to
But
play any of
Stephen,
the?
Stephen, they stay at the top because they're playing each other, and they are the top teams
I know,
based
and
on
that
them
I
based
well,
on them beating all those other teams from those other conferences.
but that's
Now,
not growing. That's not growing the game. Then get rid of the automatic qualifier, because then it means nothing. Because then it's just a waste of time. Then just put the best 17 teams in,
Now
no
you
matter
guys are
what.
talking politics here.
Well, it's the way they talk about growing the game. The idea of the growth of the AQ was supposed to be that you're giving people a shot that if they have a dream, one of them gets in the NCAA, all of a sudden kids that are on the margin, they go there, the teams get stronger, it starts to equal out. But that's not really what makes it. I think what makes it is when the Notre Dames play Quinnipiac, then a kid says, I can't go to Notre Dame, but I'll go to Quinnipiac because they're playing Notre Dame. But they're not, because now it only makes sense to the strong teams should only play the strong teams. It doesn't make sense to play one
I
of these
don't.
weaker teams.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that the gap between those AQ teams has closed. I think, from those conferences. I think some of those conferences have come up, and I think some of those teams that are at the top of those conferences have gotten better. They have, because there's just not enough room on these in these schools for all these great players. So they're filtering down. You might be, if you're a 5-star or a 4-star, you're going to the teams that are historically, top teams year after year, and on top of it, strong academically. If you're going to go to those next level schools, it doesn't mean you might not be or develop into a 4 or 5-star player or be better than a 4 or 5-star player. It's
That's why the
gradual.
idea.
The
It takes.
rules, I don't agree, Vin, because I think the way this is getting set up, I see the only things I'm seeing is the strong get stronger and the weak get weaker. Because when you add in the transfer portal and no penalties there, so what? The kid, yeah, he's the sleeper. He went to Quinnipiac. Oh my God, he scored 60 goals. By the way, he's leaving. Now he's going to Georgetown, and they get better, and the other team stays in the back of the pack, you know.
Yeah, well,
I
So
think UPenn to pick one team in the Ivy is bullshit. That's absolutely disgusting. And I do favor because I have friends that are on the other teams here. I think both of those teams should have been in it.
yeah,
UPenn and
well,
Cornell
well, what
should
I'm
be in
saying
the
is
tournament. Yo,
you used to have guys go in the back room, and maybe some guys were better at it than other guys, and they would come out, and it would be political, but maybe it was more of a representation of, well, we want to get a couple of teams from here and a couple teams from this and a couple teams from that. How different would it have been? You know, how different would it have been?
I don't
You
know.
know,
It probably would have been different
yeah.
because certain teams, they're looking at it like an eyeball test and thinking that, and there's biases in those things. But all I'm saying is, if you apply a mathematical formula across the board to every team, and this is what the numbers spit out, it's hard to argue with the
but
numbers.
Ben, what about head to head? You got a team. Let's face
That
it.
comes, that comes into play too. I don't
I'm
see
not. I'm not.
Hold
I'm,
on.
that.
Let
That
me
is
bring
why
out a
I
point.
thought.
wait, I want to
That's
make a
why I
point
thought
about
I
Vince
got
with
a
the
point too here,
mathematical.
guys.
That's why
The
I
only
thought
thing is,
that.
I'm not disagreeing with the math, but math doesn't work in sports because they say, that game should be a 1-goal game, Duke and
Look
Notre
at
Dame, and then
Cornell
they
and
get
Notre
blown
Dame
out
is
by
perfect.
10. So, you know,
Cornell and Notre Dame is perfect to look at the situation. Go, they were winning the game to the end. They lose by
Yeah,
1 goal. They're one of
yeah.
the. To me, Cornell's one of the best teams in the country. They're not in it, and I got to look at a. I'm not gonna. I don't want to pick any other team. I got to look at these other teams. Some of them got no shot at all. Come on, I mean, some.
and I'd like to see the guy. What I would like to see on a future thing, a video, maybe a podcast short, is I want the guy who invented the RPI. I want him to explain that mathematical equation and everything to Smalley. I want him to make Smalley
Yeah,
understand
okay.
how he's doing the math.
That would be an episode in itself.
Thanks. So there we go again. They got their Sombrados got their in. See what I'm saying? The Sombrado brothers go after the weakest link, so they do it too. See, I just proved my point. Very easy with these guys. I love these guys, but they're very easy. They're very easy. I want to play that song later. Remind me to play that song later.
What's the game you're most looking forward to watching in this first round situation?
Oh, I could. The first round. Syracuse Townsend.
Syracuse Towson.
Because
Okay.
Vinny made me a believer now, thinking because I really didn't know Townsend. Vinny's saying this team is good. I'm like, Vinny, where's your mind?
Oh, they're
He
good.
must know. He watched. I didn't.
They're good. Look, the best first round games, I would go with that. That's an interesting one. I think Syracuse will eventually overpower them, though. But I think the Michigan Denver game is a really good game. You know, Michigan having to travel on the road, but they're hot. Denver doesn't lose very often out there. Mile High.
Well, I'm picking Michigan in that game.
And then the other game is the Princeton Maryland game is a good game. I know Maryland beat them during the year. I don't know if the kid that got hurt the other day, I hope he's okay. Ncaa, I like watching him. He's probably, to me, their best offensive player. I don't know if he's
Who got hurt? What team, Vinny? What team?
Maryland. I don't know how badly he's hurt.
Shit.
But if they lose him, their offense hasn't exactly, been lighting it up. And Princeton can score goals. When they get rolling, they can score goals. So we'll see. Those two games to me are the most intriguing games.
The other game is Georgetown and Penn State will be a good game.
That's another tough first round game. None of these are gimmies.
Those are tough games, yeah. Wouldn't you like to see a UPenn, maybe a UPenn against?
No, UPenn's out of it. You're not seeing UPenn.
All right. I gotta watch Towson. I gotta watch the. All right.
Well, look, there are people that may not be happy. Towson or downplaying. They earned it. I think they went like 13-3 or something. They record. They beat Hopkins. They played Hopkins pretty tough. They didn't beat Hopkins. They played them fairly tough. They had for the top tier teams on their schedule, they didn't beat those teams, but they're a scary team to play. Like I said, I think they'll ultimately, Syracuse will wear them down. I think, that Syracuse has a lot of weapons, and, Towson better stay out of the penalty box, because if they get penalties, it's going to be a problem.
They have. I just wanted to see an early line on some of these games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we actually can pick. There's a game Wednesday.
Right.
We should pick our team now. Thanks to our man, another friend, Denny Goldstein. He sent us the numbers on the games that we
on the picks.
Hey,
All right, Dennis, big man.
Came up big. So, you have that Albany game against Sacred Heart where Albany is -3 against Sacred Heart.
Yeah.
I want Albany.
I'm picking Albany in that game. I think Albany.
I think we got a unanimous decision on that one, just for the fact
Brandon Oppenheimer is a good friend of mine.
That Albany, they've been there before. They've been in the tournament. They got that kind of experience. Sacred Heart had a great year. Their first time winning their conference, which got them the AQ. Good for them. It was a great season.
Yeah, good for them.
But I don't know. If you're asking me to pick, I'll go with Albany in that game.
So just to give you an idea, Vinny is on a historic comeback. While I was trotting out to that sure victory, it was a rough week for me last week. He's stormed all the way back. He's only 2 games down going into this last tournament. I'm 81-75. He's 79-77, 2 games back. And
Yeah, but
Smalley,
he's looking at all your. I have to say, he cheated a little bit because he looked at your picks. We gotta ask. We gotta get a lie detector. Vinny, come clean right now.
doesn't matter.
Hold on. Let me get the floor. Vinny, come clean. Did you sneak peek on some of Steven's picks a little bit? Because I do look a little bit. Once in a while, I look at Stevens because I try to go opposite the game. And meanwhile, it didn't work.
Well, it worked this week.
See, so here's what we got. Here's what we got is that this question and admission. He cheats by looking at your picks or mine, right?
Right.
He's questioning what I'm doing when somehow I won most of my games and you lost most of your games. So why would I be looking at his? He lost.
Oh,
most
we
of
here. So hold on. This is why I brought the lie detector test, Stephen. We're gonna take the test.
I don't look at yours or his picks. I make my own because if I'm down in trying to catch
Vinny, that's not the question. Excuse me.
you're not see as usual. You don't understand things. What
There we
I'm
go,
telling you
Stephen.
is,
Come on.
If I'm down, you're gonna keep talking or you're gonna let me talk.
Go ahead. We're arguing here. Come on.
Stop talking so I can talk for a second.
Keep going.
If I am just going to look at his picks and mirror his picks, how can I catch up to him?
But I didn't ask you that. You look at his picks, Stephen. Chime in.
I need to make up. If I pick opposite
Stephen,
him,
chime in, Stephen.
All I'm saying, well, I think what Smalley's trying to say is he's saying if you have my pick, if I am the one who picks first, then you do have an option to try to figure out where you could pick up ground and not ground.
which is what he does. Which is what he just.
Why is he? Why
does.
is he? He's attacking the weak link. He's doing it again.
This is what you just said. I'm just repeating what you said.
All right. We'll get the lie detector test next week, and we'll put it on.
Every accusation is an admission on his part.
Here we go, boys. Here we go. Final four, baby.
And then he put it on me.
Now,
you're a projectionist.
The last thing I want to talk about for this week is we all know that I'm looking at the bracket now. It likely Duke victory. We think as the number 2 seed. Princeton, Maryland, we don't know. So it could be Duke versus Princeton or Maryland, right? At Hofstra quarterfinal. And then also, most likely, Notre Dame against Georgetown or Penn State. Big quarterfinal games. Everybody's wondering what kind of resumes do they need to make it into the box? I mean, this is a hot. Holy Smalley's phones rang once that tournament bracket came out.
Forget about it.
Phone is off the hook. What do you have to do?
I got a call from Ncaa. Robin Ncaa, who still wants to get in the Hall of Fame. This is unbelievable.
So what kind of crowd can we expect?
Complete sellout. Be the biggest crowd they ever had in history. It's going to be making on the thing here.
It's going to be a tough ticket, and it's a tougher ticket in the box. What's going on with the box?
You got to bring your resume, as Vinny said it. Bring your resume. Bring your resume. Oh, man, it's going to be good.
Hofstra better be prepared because
man,
be a big crowd if those teams.
Who's going to sneak up in the box? Vinny's 2 good friends, 3 good friends. Vinny has. Vinny's 3 best friends that are going to sneak in. Name them. You know one of them.
There's no sneaking.
Vinny, who's the one guy? Come on, that called you on the phone.
I'm not divulging anything yet.
Oh, his good friend Casper's coming. He called me. I got to invite him. I got to invite the other guy from Hempstead. Who's the guy from Hempstead?
Well, Vinny said even
stop talking names.
The guy's invited. He's got 37 seats in the box. He's invited 375 people to be in the box, Wally.
Oh my God! I got Jeff Goldberg. These 3. Come on, Goldie, 3 tickets. Oh man! Holy crap!
It is a tough time. We're getting right down to the end of the wire.
Nah, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Hey, listen, 5 decades later, Vincenzo's still picking them. Still relevant in the game. Coaches, players, getting people in boxes. This guy's too much. What do you think about this character? What do you think, Steven? He's got to get a haircut. Look at his hair. Come on.
The hair's spectacular. Look at it. That is wind tunnel tested right there.
Oh,
Come on.
God.
But obviously this is the best time of the year for any lacrosse fan. You're getting some great games, and it only gets better as you get closer to the end. The pressure will be there. The cream will rise to the top. Notre Dame's got a target on their back. Everybody's coming for them. I would, every team, whether it's Albany or Sacred Heart, they're going to be coming for them, in that next game. So they got a road. They got to know they got to win 4 hard games. They have the grit to do it. They look like they can do it, but anything can happen in sports. We've watched it over and over and over happen. Teams that you thought, but then we've seen it the other way. Like Smalls mentioned, UConn. UConn looks short. Like a sure thing, and they went through everybody and rolled. So is Notre Dame going to take the UConn path and just roll right through, or are they going to have a hiccup and a problem along the way, and is somebody else going to emerge as Michigan did in their conference tournament, or somebody going to just get hot and take over? That's what we're looking at.
Michigan wins it all. Forget it. That'd be. But I've never seen a team that low come up. It's usually the top 5 in lacrosse. Like lacrosse, you don't see these dream teams. Like it's hard.
That's true.
If you had to pick right now the team to win this bracket, who are you taking?
If I had say that again. What's the question?
You had to pick the bracket right now. The win. Who's standing with the trophy at the end of this tournament?
Oh, I think Notre Dame.
What do you think, Rob?
Oh God, I'm gonna say. To win the whole thing or just the bracket?
Yeah, to win the whole thing. Well, that's the bracket. Is the whole thing. What do you mean?
Well, like I said, it's gonna be one of the top. The trickiest team, I have to say, very very tricky team because it's so young, is Syracuse to knock off Notre Dame. If any, that'll be my pick in the end. But it does look like
who you picking? It's one team. Who
Notre Dame. I got to go with Notre Dame.
So you're not picking Syracuse to beat Notre Dame. You're saying Notre Dame's going to win it all.
If any lucky team's going to win it all, that would be it. But other than that, I don't see it. I see Notre Dame. The goalie's the best player in the world, and give him the thing. Maybe share it with him and Kavanaugh, because I've never seen anything like this. The grit the Kavanaugh brothers have. This is really special. It reminds me of like UConn coming in. Somebody could beat them, but they're coming in very strong at the right time. And Entenmann's cake. By the way, does he own Entenmann? Someone did tell me that. Yeah. That's not the Entenmann family, like with the cake family, is it?
I don't know.
Oh, somebody told me that. That's the cake.
Well, it's right down the block. It is right down the block.
What?
It is. And from Chaminade, I'm saying, from where he went to school, at least.
I mean, is he not the best player in the game right now? You guys tell me. Tell me. You can't tell me. You can't make a case that another guy is better, even an offensive player.
Well, look at it this way. You could say he's the best goalie, right?
Yeah.
And I would also say he's the most impactful.
Yeah. He may be the best goalie to ever play as a 1 year.
Is he your pick for Tewaaraton?
Yes.
Or Tewaaraton?
He's my pick, but I also want to add the flavor of Kavanaugh in there because what this kid is doing is just 2 years of winning. I say last year the Cavaliers didn't win that award. I got to kind of give it to both of them. It's a little crazy. This kid's going to win 2 in a row, Kavanaugh, if he wins. He's got the most grit in the game. I don't know how
This might be the first time I ever agreed with Smalls on something.
Wow, Vincenzo!
The past history is that they did give 2 trophies one year, right? The Thompson brothers got it. Miles and Lyle, right?
Yes.
That's the only other time they gave it to 2 guys.
Yes.
So
He's
if
the only
Notre Dame,
player
I
in the
don't
last.
know. I don't know if they pick it prior to the playoffs or not. I'm not sure
No,
about
they
when
haven't
they.
picked it yet. No, it doesn't come till. Oh, you mean picking
No,
it
that
actually?
Vinny's right. They hand out the trophy at the end of the last game. He's right. They pick it before.
No, they don't
decide
give the Tawaraton. They don't give the Tawaraton.
Yeah,
They
they
don't
give
give
it
the
the
Tawaraton
next
at the
week.
game. I just don't know when the voting is done. Is what I'm saying. So, do they wait till after the playoffs? Do they wait till the national championship to pick it? Do they pick it before the playoffs? I don't know. But if they
It's been
pick
30
it after,
years.
all I'm
Yeah.
saying is if they pick it on after the game, after the playoffs, and Notre Dame has won it, I think it would be a good thing maybe to give it to both Pat Cavanaugh and Enterman. If
Vinny agreed with the kid. The kid is coming, baby. I'll tell you. Let me just play, Vinny. Can I, before we go any further, I wanted to give a shout out to you guys because something really good. I got a nice call for Duke University from Michaela Ryan, John Shire, the head coach. They gave me my big order this year, so I'm very excited. But let me play something for Vinny, and here's how it's going to go. And like I said, I want to give a shout out to the Kavanaugh family, the brothers, the whole thing, the coach, because this is where I want to be. If they win, I'm going to be on the field, and here it is, Vinny. Hold on. Tell me what this is, Vin. Hold on. We're going to win it!
the Irish
We're gonna
fight
win
song.
it! Go Irish,
Fight
baby!
song.
Come on, baby! 2 years in a row!
King, Don King.
Tilt your head back. You're showing your ball spot.
Can you hear it? Oh, back up,
We
please.
hear it.
Can you hear
What
it?
a week. Yes, we heard it.
All right.
All right, Smalls. Well, that's us signing off. We'll be back next week. I think we're going to have guests. Frank Dashman might be coming on next week.
Give our shout outs.
Right?
Tash has got a lot of news for us.
I love Tash, man. Let's give our shout out. Who's your lucky shout out for today? I'm going to go with a girl. I'm going to go with Jenny Levy from North Carolina. She's going to be back next year, bigger than ever. I love that family. Here we go, baby. Big year. We got 1 week to go before the big dance, guys. I'm really happy, man.
Who's your
You guys did a
shout
good
out,
job.
Steven?
My shout out is Denny Goldstein. Thanks for the hookup on the DraftKings. They outlawed us from seeing those New York games, but because of Denny, we have the lines and we'll be able to pick those lines.
All right, we got our resources. I'm giving a shout out to the Chaminade varsity team. They got a big game with St. Anthony's today. They lost a tough one to them last time. They were tied at half, and then St. Anthony's took them apart in the second half. Hopefully, they can get it together today and see if they can win that game. They play a rubber match game for the championship. If St. Anthony's wins today, that's it. They're the champs. So I give the shout out to my Flyers, and hopefully they can put a good game together and tie it with in wins with St. Anthony's.
That's a good point. Give a shout out to the O'Connell kid. That kid's going to do good, man. Hey, Vinny, one last thing before we wrap this up. The Kavanaugh kid that's in the pros, I should know his name. What's that kid's name that I liked? He was
Matt.
What?
Matt.
Matt? I'm sorry. I can't.
Matt. M-A-T-T. Matt.
Oh, okay. Emmy. Let me ask you a question. Does anybody have reach with him? Can we reach him another time? I want to get him on before we go into the whole thing.
Okay, we'll get him on.
Does anybody know how we can get his number?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you say? Why are you saying yes? Who?
Why you got to know who? You asked the question, I gave you an answer. What are you, an owl? Who? He's like an owl.
What's your finest moment? All right, guys. I want to get Matt on. I want a couple questions for that kid. I want to get him on. I like that kid. So let's see what we can do.
All right.
All right.
We got our picks for Wednesday. Look for the picks later in the week. We got all the other games, the other 8 games we'll be able to put lines out for and get the picks, and we'll see if Vinny's able to overtake me. and it'll be another great week. Enjoy, guys. Enjoy.
I love it, baby. I love you guys. Thank you, man. Thank you for bringing me
All
back
right.
after
Signing
30 years,
off.
man. All right.
to you
See you later,
later.
guys.
Bye-bye.